see everything that got announced this week, man? It kind of exploded at the end there.
It did, and Criterion. I mean, the Roaring Twenties is one I'm really excited about. That one, and I had no idea Nothing But a Man was going to come to them, and I'm very curious about with that one. There was another one I was really excited about. What was the other one that they announced, or one of the other ones that they announced?
Talking about the Johnny Toe films, maybe? After talking about
No,
martial arts,
actually,
McCabe and
not,
Mrs. Miller,
not that. There was one more.
the Eric Romero box set.
No, what was it? I was just watching James 2021st last night, and he was talking about it, or the other night. It'll come to me, or I'll
Yeah,
find it.
well, and if it was brand new, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into what happened this week. First up, Kino Lorber releasing The Hell with Heroes on January 9th. This is coming with a new audio commentary with Steve Mitchell and Stephen J. Rubin, who's the author of combat films, American Realism. War movies. Are you into war movies very much?
Yeah, I wouldn't call myself a super duper fan, but I do watch my fair share of them. Yeah.
I like some of them, but man, some of the older war movies, especially because of when they were made, they feel like just hardcore propaganda sometimes.
Yeah, especially if they were made right around that World War II time.
Yeah.
They're definitely heavy propaganda.
Like a 1952 joint with a whole bunch of white guys sitting on a beach. You know that's just trying to sell you. You should probably
Yeah.
enlist.
You should enlist. Yeah, exactly.
Next up is one that a lot of people are excited about. January 9th on Blu-ray, Kino is releasing Split Image from 1982. This is with Michael O'Keefe and Karen Allen and Peter Fonda. This one's going to have a new audio commentary with Daniel Kramer. And man, he has said a lot of stuff about this. I am eager to check this one out. Have you seen this one?
I've not seen this one. Actually, I'm not familiar at all with this one.
This one just sounded great. And it says it's a spirit-stirring story revolving around an all-American college athlete named Danny Stetson, who is innocently lured into Homeland, a youth-oriented cult, by a compellingly beautiful girl. I read that much and said, yep, gotta have it. This sounds incredible.
Yeah, that does sound pretty good. I'll check that out.
That's one that I should remind everybody of. Thank you, Kerry Mulligan. Diabolic DVD closed their site for a restock, and wow, forgot his name for a moment. Jesse tweeted that he is posting so much to the site that everybody should be ready around noon Eastern tomorrow for a giant launch, because he's got a whole bunch of stuff coming. Tons of new media books, lots of stuff that's been out of stock for a while. Check out Diabolic tomorrow if you are into it.
Okay. And going back to Criterion for a second.
Yeah.
It was Train Spotting.
Oh yeah.
And also the Johnny Toe films, of course, yes, but it was Train Spotting also that I was kind of excited for.
Yeah, that one I am very, very stoked on getting that eventually. I think that's a January title. I still can't believe they brought that back, because that used to be with them a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I wonder if they're going to including the sequel or
no, it's just the new one. I mean, it'd be nice if they could get it eventually, because honestly, it's fairly on par. It's not quite as good as the first, but it's pretty good.
I have to see that one. I haven't seen the sequel yet, but
it's worth it. Next up is Raro Video is releasing Loaded Guns from 1975 with Ursula Andress as our leading lady here, which unfortunately everybody has coined as Ursula Undress on many parts of the internet. This is a Fernando De Leo movie, who also did Caliber 9. And this has an audio commentary by Rachel Nisbet on it. And Raro's been doing great stuff. I hope this looks good. And if it does, I'm sure this is going to be great.
Yeah, I saw this years and years and years ago, so I don't remember anything about it, but I know I've seen it like when I was really young, teenager.
Nice. Next up, Third Window Films announced a couple movies. First, they got January 29th on Blue. They're going to give us Mad Cats. This is a brand new 2023 film, and this says Taka, a shiftless young man, sets off on a quest to find his missing brother Mune. Teaming up with a quirky new friend and an edgy, mysterious young girl, Taka finds himself taking on a pack of vicious monster cats. determined to execute unscrupulous pet shop owners. Why are the monster cats after him? Why was his brother captured? What is the purpose of this mysterious young girl? Mysteries are about to be revealed as the journey leads to a final showdown. I'm so confused.
Me too, but I'm in. I have no idea what it means. I've never heard of this movie, but I'm in. I'm curious now.
It's got a bunch of special features on it. We got an audio commentary, behind the scenes interview. Sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, it does.
And then
that's crazy.
Yeah. February, they're also giving us River from 2023, another brand new one. And this is from the same people that made the recent movie Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes. And this is the latest 2-minute time adventure from that team. And it's supposed to be pretty good. There's an hour-long making of on this disc and an interview. And it's an all-region Blu-ray, which is kind of rare for Third Window. So that's nice to see.
Okay. Yeah, I know nothing about this one.
Sardis says Deaf Crocodile started a cat fad. Love it. Next up, Severin continued their Black Friday announcements, and the fourth title is The Dead One from 1961. And this is with Barry Mahone, and it says a voodoo priestess sends out zombies to bring back live victims for her sacrificial rituals. I have heard a lot of not great things about this one, but I've never seen this. Severin, though, man, they're announcing stuff like crazy. We're still going to talk about, I think, 4 more other films tonight coming from them.
Oh, wow.
And I think they still have one more getting announced tomorrow, too.
Wow. No, I haven't seen this one either, but it definitely sounds 60s, actually, to be quite fair. It
sure does.
60s, especially when you get the sacrificing thing, where movies were just kind of trying to go into that direction.
That was a big thing back then. I don't know why. Kino announced that No Man of Her Own from 1950 is coming on Blue sometime. Another one of those who knows when titles. This is a Barbara Stanwyck film and directed by Mitchell Leeson. Have you seen this one?
I haven't. I always find it weird, though, that they just announce titles and don't tell you when they're coming out. It's just, it's crazy.
You know what the other weird one for me, and I've ranted about this before, but Shout Factory not announcing their special features until like a week before the release date. It makes no sense. I mean, other regions are releasing these same movies.
Right.
If you want me to compete and buy yours, why would you not tell me what's going to be on it?
Right. It'd be different if you were the only one in town, and then it's like a nice surprise when you bought it. But yeah, if everybody else has already said, I've got these special features for this movie, you might want to step up.
The gosh, what was it? It's another martial arts title. They did another exclusive box set. Is it David Leung that they did as well?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. And it's like about to come out, and people are posting today that they got shipping notifications. They still haven't announced the special features.
Wow.
So it's on the way, and people don't even know what's going to be on the discs.
That's not good. And you would think, they would get some sort of backlash or more backlash from it, but maybe they do and don't care. I don't know.
It's a good question. Next up, a lot of people excited about this one. Kino releasing The Last Castle from 2001 on 4K. This is coming sometime, who knows. Brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master on this from a 4K scan of the OCN. I have seen this one a long time ago and remember loving it. You got a stacked cast: Robert Redford, James Gandolfini, Mark Ruffalo. I think Delroy Lindo's in this, but I think there's another big name that I'm forgetting. But man, I remember loving this movie. Have you seen this one?
No, I see Delroy Lindo in the back, and I see the whole cast. I hadn't, for some reason, I hadn't even heard of this movie until it got announced the other day. And everybody started talking about it. I'm like, The Last Castle, what is this? So I'm curious now. I definitely want to check that out.
And James Gandolfini, right in 2001, at the height of his renaissance then. Yeah, that was a great time for him. Yes, there is a fundraiser going on now for the action film The Contract, and this one is going to star one of the UK's best martial artist, Nick Khan. You can go to Indiegogo and support this one now. And if you are into some of the other movie and film YouTubers, Preston or that Fat Samurai guy, he's one of the producers on this. So
Oh,
if you
cool.
are wanting to help that Fat Samurai guy, go check this out and donate if you can.
Okay, cool.
Good stuff. Next up, the next Severin title is Stir from 1980. This is the Stephen Wallace film, and this one, quite opposite from the last one. I've heard that this thing is incredible. Never seen this movie, and very eager to check it out.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this one either.
I guess time will tell.
Yeah, yeah.
Next up, Kino is re-releasing this one, which is Coming Home from 1978, and this one I believe was in like a double pack previously. I may be wrong on this one, but it's got an audio commentary by John Voight and Bruce Dern with the cinematographer Haskell Wexler, and a featurette called Coming Back Home. And let's see, did they say nope? Nothing about it being a re-release. I do not remember, but it's got Robert Carradine in this and Robert Ginty.
So, how many Oscars did that say it won? Is that 3?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So, in the 7, at that point, I was a little kid, but all through that and my teenage years and even into my 20s, Oscar movie, what we think of as an Oscar movie, those were kind of movies I would stay far away from because
Turned you off.
Yeah, turned me off, too stuffy. It's funny because now it's like I'm seeking out Oscar movies, so I got to see this one at some point.
I have missed this one, and I feel like this is going to be a winner for me. I've had so many people say that this movie's amazing. It's about individuals that are coming back from Vietnam. And yeah, I got to check this one out. And obviously, we were just talking about the propaganda films. This came out in '78, and it's about people coming home from Vietnam. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right at that time. Yep.
But it is a Hal Ashby film, so it's probably incredible. Next up, one that is probably going to get another 15 releases before we are done for a while. January 29th, the company in the UK called Signature Entertainment, they're releasing a 4K steelbook of Terrifier and Terrifier 2.
Wow.
And the main difference here is the first Terrifier had never been on 4K before this steelbook. And
no.
This is an odd steelbook to me. Like, the back is pretty much fine, but the front of this, that to me doesn't even look like Art the Clown from Terrifier.
It doesn't. It does, but it doesn't.
Right.
Let me put it that way. It does, but it doesn't. But just from there, I can't really see the image that close. I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool looking cover. So I don't know. Maybe once you get it up close, you'll get a better idea.
The colors and the style's all right. I just wish it wasn't like a caricature.
Right.
I like the inside. It's a fun picture.
Oh yeah. And yeah, I mean, he is the horror icon of this generation, pretty much. Between him, Ghostface, so they're just gonna keep releasing as many times as they can, and it's gonna get worse when Terrifier 3 comes out.
I'd say those two and probably Pennywise from the new It's.
Yeah.
Those three are the ones that you see everywhere. God, Spirit Halloween is going to be full of those.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
Next up, I put out an interview this week with the CFK production team, and I won't talk on this too long, but this is a wild video, and just reading this probably sounds like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense being on my channel, but Arna Venema, the guy in the top right there and the bottom left of the pictures, he is on a whole bunch of these audio commentaries, and we spend this whole conversation discussing how they went from a food review team to making all kinds of extras for Blu-ray companies, and now they're hoping to be making feature-length films. And there's some incredible stories along the way. I mean, people licking moldy squid. I know that sounds disgusting, but it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Them pranking video game channels with doing full-on April Fool's Day jokes about Jeremy Renner. It's a wild interview. They're hard to wrangle, but man, it was fun.
I hadn't watched that game. I'm gonna have to check that out.
I also feel kind of bad because I had this recorded since early September, and I had to hold it because the title that we were talking about didn't get announced until last week. It got delayed, so it's just been sitting here waiting for everybody.
Yeah, you just had to do what you had to do, and I'm sure that was killing you holding it though.
Unfortunately. Then we got December 11th, the Second Run Company in the UK. They are releasing a Blu ray box set of more Jerzy Skolimowski films. This one's got Walkover, Barrier, Dialogue 2040-60, and a whole bunch of short films. If you are into Jerzy, this is a big deal. A lot of these titles had not been able to be seen on HD ever. The short films alone are a big deal. And Second Run, if you are following Second Run, they do incredible work on these films. Very, very curious to see this one. Gosh, yeah, this is a big deal. Have you checked out anything from Second Run before?
I have not. Mm-mm.
They do a bunch of Czech new wave films and like Eastern European stuff,
Yeah,
and they just do incredible work.
that's kind of a hole in my from my what I've watched is Eastern European. I've seen some, but not very many.
I'm certainly not well versed. I'm very behind with it as well. Next up is coming from Kino on January 16th, The Devil's Brigade from 1968. Lots of war films tonight. This
Yes.
one's got an audio commentary by Steve Mitchell and Jay Rubin, and it is coming with the slipcover, of course, that everybody's buying these for. William Holden film, Cliff Robertson. Yeah, I don't know anything about this one. A lot of
No,
these older war films I've just never seen.
no. Most of my war films that I've watched have been since from the 80s on.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely my era for war. Man, I'm dying to see this one too.
Oh,
January
me too.
15th.
Yes.
Uh, Fox or 20th Century Studios, whatever we're calling them nowadays, they are releasing The Creator from this year in a 4K steelbook. This is also going to have a Blu-ray disc with it, and it's going to have some extras. You can buy it at Zavi, HMV. From what I hear, this is not getting a steelbook in the US because Best Buy was not doing the exclusive steelbooks, and no other retailer opted to do an exclusive. Somebody else said those exact words. That's from the studio, commenting elsewhere online. So I'm curious what's going to happen with steelbooks moving forward. Are you much of a steelbook guy?
I do like steelbooks. I don't have to have them, but if when I'm looking at them in the store, if they're there, I'm like, oh yeah, cool, I'll grab that one. Um, it's gonna be interesting what happens to them. I don't. I kind of get it, but I'm not quite sure why they have to be exclusive to a retailer.
Yeah.
It's like just make the steelbook and put it out there through wherever you sell it, and you'll probably sell more. I think that they're trying to push this, whole exclusivity thing,
Yep.
and for it's really doing nothing but helping them drive up the price. So I guess that explains it really. Um, but you would think somebody else would kind of take up that mantle now with Best Buy kind of buying out of it. And I know Walmart has started carrying a bunch more steelbooks, so maybe they'll start getting them.
I don't know. Everybody keeps saying that, and Walmart is an option, Amazon's an option.
Mm-hmm.
Target is not really an option anymore. It sounds like they're on the way out of the whole physical media game.
Yeah, every time I go into my local Target, the section gets smaller and smaller. It was 3 rows of stuff, and then it was a row and a half, and then it's pretty much a standee now with a couple of other titles somewhere. So it just gets smaller and smaller at Target. I'm fully expecting to walk in there and it be completely gone in the next few months.
Well, we'll be talking about Target later on tonight because they've got something coming up for us. But the whole exclusive thing, I can't think of anybody else. Like, there's nowhere else nationwide for the US that even comes close other than Amazon or Walmart. And
Yeah.
I kind of don't want either of those guys to get it. They don't do well with it. I really I don't understand what we're doing. I mean, I totally agree with you. And Paramount has proven if you make them a wide release, they'll sell like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just follow Paramount.
Yeah. 'Cause, I mean, at some point you just got to realize that we want to actually sell them, not just, jack up the price and sit them in one retailer's store and hope the collectors find it. I mean, just if you put them out there, they'll sell. People will buy them.
And if you really want to make them limited, like Dell was saying, number them and then still sell them
Mhm.
wide. Print 3,000 of them and number them, and you're just as limited.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I don't get it. Then the next Severin title. This is coming on Blu-ray. We are also getting Sam Sherman's Raiders of the Living Dead from 1986. I have been hearing about this one for a very long time and just so excited that we're finally going to be able to get this in HD. I've not been able to watch this one yet. I've wanted this, and I knew that somebody was going to do it eventually. But I mean, I think Severin is kind of the perfect one for this.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this one. It's looks like a B flick that's kind of riding on the Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of deal.
Yep,
Okay.
that and Night of the Living Dead,
That of course not a Living Dead.
combination of the two. Let's see, what do we got next? We got some big titles to
Of
talk
course.
about. Gosh, so this is like simultaneously very exciting and also very troubling. Let's get into it. First up, The Abyss from James Cameron from 1989 is finally confirmed for a 4K and Blu-ray release. This is the first time in HD legally anywhere. This is coming on March 12th. And not only is it coming, but we've got a theatrical version on this that is 145 minutes. The special edition runtime on this is 171 minutes. We are getting this on a 100 gig disc, which for Disney is not always a given. That's a big deal. They've got Dolby Atmos coming on this. They've got Dolby Vision on the disc and a whole bunch of new stuff on some of these releases. We've got a conversation with James Cameron. It's a brand new sit down with him. The Legacy of the Abyss, discovering the lasting legacy with stories from James Cameron and the crew, and then a whole bunch of archival footage. There's all kinds of stuff that's not listed. This is a big deal title though, because it's the first time coming out. I'm very curious about this. What do you think about James Cameron overall?
I think he's a great director. He made a lot of great movies, including I'm sure the next few movies you're going to talk about.
Yep.
He's made some fantastic stuff. Some of the best, some of his best stuff from my childhood on. And I hate the Avatar stuff. Really, not.
Yeah.
So I think he's kind of wasting away trying to make a trillion of those, and he's taken what 4, 5, 6 years between each movie to do it. But I mean, who am I to say anything to him? I mean, he's made some of the most highest grossing movies of all time, so obviously he knows what he's doing.
Right. The big thing that we're kind of beating around the bush on though is the big 4K that we've gotten from Cameron so far is Terminator 2, which is colloquially known as the
Right.
worst 4K disc ever created. And it's because it is DNR'd to death, and it looks like they took a smoothing brush over every single pixel that they possibly could. And I have a feeling that all of these are going to be the exact same.
So was he involved with that, with the T2 transfer?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was never sure of that. And I didn't purchase it because I heard it was so bad.
Right.
So I still have T2 on Blu-ray.
And it looks good. And honestly, the 4K, you could argue technically is still a little bit better than the Blu-ray, but it not enough to make it a 4K disc. And I have to wonder, we've been harping on the T2 disc for, I think it came out 5 years ago.
Wow, yeah.
It was a very old 4K. I wonder if he took a lot of that flack to heart and said, maybe I could do better. And all of these could be incredible now.
Could be.
But I'm also very worried.
Yeah, it kind of has to feel like, he's heard people saying, well, I want these movies on 4K. We want these movies. And he just kind of said, okay, well, here you go. And I don't know how much care he put into it.
Right.
And especially mentioning Avatar, a lot of his attention is there. It's like, okay, here, just put them out. Let's make some more money so I can fund these Avatar movies and keep on going.
Yeah, and it's bad enough that we're going to talk about 2 new releases of the Avatar films already, right after this. So this is a huge deal. I'm sure it's going to be incredible, but it could also be incredibly underwhelming. I'm glad it'll be in HD finally, but yeah, this is This is rough. I want to be very excited, and I am. I'm not trying to play that down, but man, there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, yeah, and I, but I get everything you're saying, but I think some people are still gonna, hang on to the fact that it's gonna be better than the DVD because that's all we
Oh
had
yeah,
for all this time.
it'll be much better. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big deal. Next up, like I said, we have a new release of Avatar. This is for the one from 2009. This is going to be a 4-disc set, but also they're releasing a steelbook of this, which will not have 4 discs. It will only be, I believe, 2 discs. And so, if you want every version of this film, you have to get this digipack version that they're doing. So this one is going to have 3 versions of the film. It's going to have the theatrical version, which is 162 minutes, the special edition, which is 170 minutes, and then the collector's extended cut, which is 178 minutes. And this is perfect right after you and I talked about making shorter
I'm
films.
telling you, they just releasing these longer and longer cuts. And
Uh, yeah.
that's a movie that, and well, especially the sequel. I mean, there's so much that could have been cut out of those movies and not change the story.
Yeah. Jim says the T2 transfer was an error on Studio Canal's part. They used the 3D print that Cameron approved for 3D release, which had the grain scrubbed for 3D instead of the OCN. I mean, if that's the case, they've had many years to fix it.
Yeah, because then they've re-released it in different steel books throughout the years.
Right. They've had many opportunities to fix that. Let's see. Video Store says there's no way they've actually rendered the effects in the Abyss in true 4K though, so I'd imagine it's an upscale anyway. I kind of, but also not really. Those are still going to be on the OCN, and you can scan that in 4K. It's not going to be re-rendering in a computer the older graphics to make those bigger in terms of pixels, but no, it can still be a 4K without upscaling technically. Because I guess if you kind of want to argue it, it was kind of upscaled then because you're taking the shoddy like 8-bit graphics, putting it on 35 millimeter, and then putting that out there. Yes, there's been years to fix it, but Cameron has been underwater this whole time. Oh, so true. Yeah, so the amount of special features on this is crazy. The new features we're getting is a behind the scenes hosted by John Landau.
Wow.
We've got some promos on this, a new stills gallery, and then like all of the bonus features that you could ever wish for, adding up to hours and hours. This has 10 hours of bonus features on this, on top of 3 different versions of a 3-hour movie.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I mean, I know there are lots of Avatar fans out there. That's why we're getting so many. That's why they make so much money. So for them, it's probably worth it.
I mean, it's either that or it's just because they're box office successes. That doesn't necessarily make people fans of them.
True. Yeah.
Especially that first one. That first one was just it. I don't want to like minimize it, but it was a spectacle film. It was one of those things you kind of had to see to believe because at the time, that was the prettiest movie that any of us had ever seen.
Yeah, it was. It's a gorgeous looking movie. I can't take any of that away from it. And yeah, people just had to see it, and everyone kept saying, "Well, you got to see it on the big screen. You got to see it in 3D." And at the time, it was a different kind of 3D. Also, it wasn't things shooting out at you from the screen. It was depth of field,
immersive. Yeah, that was an incredible 3D experience for the time. The next one is, of course, the sequel. This is getting... Oh, and I guess I forgot to mention the release date. That first Avatar, that's coming on December 19th. These are different than the other Camerons. The sequel is also coming on December 19th in a 4K and Blu-ray. This is coming with a whole bunch of new bonus features, which is crazy offensive to everybody that just bought the first release of this. And now it's getting not just like a few new bonus features. We're talking like as many as coming out for that original Avatar. This is going to be a huge packed release.
Yeah, studios have gotten good at that. They'll release it in either one format or just a bare bones, and then a few months later, here comes something with a little more to it. And crazy folks like us go out and buy both versions, and then a third version the year after that.
Antonio says that 3-hour movie's gonna have 9 hours of commentaries and 1 hour of documentaries. Next up is one that people have been waiting for a long time, just like The Abyss, but just a little bit shorter. True Lies is also coming on 4K and Blu-ray on March 12th. Once again, this has not been legally released, at least here. I think there was a Spanish disc that it is most likely a bootleg, but this is coming for the first time. This also has brand new bonus features. This is going to have a look back at True Lies. It's unveiled the explosive behind-the-scenes secrets of True Lies with the cast and crew, and then archive script, artwork, and marketing, diving into the production secrets. And you get a trailer. So not a whole lot on this one, but the artwork they're using, I'm very curious about. We have Arnie and Jamie Lee standing here.
Mm-hmm.
He just threw a grenade. The pin is still in this.
Pin's still in it.
I've not seen all of the war films, but how did this pass multiple rounds of marketing to get an official release?
Well, maybe he's just kind of tossing it up and down, kind of playing with it. Maybe. That said, it's a great movie, though. I love this movie.
Yeah, this is an incredible movie. I think this is Jamie Lee probably at her hottest in her career. Arnie looking incredible in this, and then of course the hottest person in the world, Tom Arnold, with a wonderful guest support.
You know, you can't go wrong with Tom Arnold in 4K.
No, this is a really fun movie. Really great 90s action movie. It's great.
I will agree, though. For me, this is the best Jamie Lee Curtis has ever looked.
Let's start there. What's your favorite Jamie Lee film of all time?
Ooh, actually, you know what? It might be this one. To be quite honest with you, it might be this one. And I'm not super duper huge on Halloween like everybody else. I like it, but I'm
big on it. I just don't think that she was great in it. I mean, she's good, but that was like one of her first couple roles.
Good. Yeah, Trading Places, she was good. And you know what? I'll take that back. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. That's gonna be my one.
So my trifecta for Jamie Lee is True Lies and Everything Everywhere, holding up the bases of the pyramid, but the top has to be A Fish Called Wanda. I love that movie so damn much, and she is incredible in that movie.
I've only seen it in pieces. I've never given it a proper watch. I'm very familiar with it, but it's one of those movies, you catch at the beginning, sometimes you catch the end, because they're always showing it on, used to always show it on TV, or catch it in the middle somewhere as I'm like getting ready to go somewhere, but I've never sat and given it a proper watch. So I need to do that.
Maybe if I ever get to come on Movie Swap, maybe that's what I'm picking for you then.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We'll talk about that before I get off here, but yes.
All right. Next up from them, they are doing Aliens in 4K coming in on March 12th as well. Now, this is the odd one out when you start comparing to all the other ones, because this one doesn't have any new bonus features, nothing at all, which is kind of surprising considering it's a franchise film compared to the other ones. And I imagine that there's a lot of people that would have loved to say something about this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, lots of people consider this the best in the franchise. And, there's all sorts of stories out there about the making of this movie. Even, was it Netflix just did one, that Movies That Made Us kind of thing.
Yeah.
I believe they did Aliens and not Alien, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds right. I've not watched it yet, but that sounds right.
Yeah, I did watch it. So there's lots to say about it. And people want to talk about it. So you think there would be more new special features on it.
Yeah, I wish they would have done anything, but either way, we're getting it in 4K, and I really hope they do this one justice, because I adore this franchise, and so much so that I have a 3D printed alien egg that looks just like this one they're using on the cover here, sitting on my desk that I use as a pen holder.
Cool.
Love this franchise. And then we got some details about all of these, and these are actually really useful. So the first thing, I do want to say thanks to Bill Hunt over at the Digital Bits, who originally broke this news. He got the official press release on this one, and he clarified some things for everybody. He said, one, both versions of The Abyss will be on both 4K and Blu-ray. Two, both versions of Aliens will be on 4K and Blu-ray. All three versions of Avatar will be on 4K and Blu-ray. The Blu-ray versions of The Abyss and True Lies are from that new 4K scan. That's a big deal for a lot of people. The Blu-ray versions may eventually be available separately, but for now, they're only going to be in these 4K combos. So if you are holding out for those, you may want to pick these up because Disney, I mean, they pulled all the way out of Australia. Who knows if they're going to do anything
Right.
else with these ever again?
Right.
Go ahead.
No, well, so is the Avatar one, then is that a 6-disc set then?
No, they use seamless branching. So if they on one 4K, there are two 4K discs, two Blu-ray discs, and they take a film, and if one of the cuts has like 6 minutes of extra footage, it shares all the same data as the shorter cut, and then just adds on that other one in a process called seamless branching. So you
Okay.
won't see any difference. It's just going to that same data and going down a different route when it spits it out to you.
Okay, got it. So depending on which one you select, it'll play that. Okay, got it.
Exactly. Yeah, both options will be on the menu there. Next is all 4K presentations will include Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos and all beyond 100 gig discs. That's a huge deal. Disney is not one to use Dolby Vision most of the time.
Mhm.
The Dolby Atmos, I wouldn't get super excited about yet because if you've never heard it, there's a term called Dolby Atmos because of what Disney does to their sound, and it's never that good. So we'll see how that works out. But the 100 gig discs, that's a big deal because it gives everything a lot of room. You want as much room as possible for all this data, and putting all these on like a tiny 50 gig 4K disc would be rough. Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing.
All titles except for Aliens, they all have new special features. That's a big deal. All titles will include legacy special features, and in most cases, a lot of them. True Lies only got a trailer, but most of them have a lot. And then if you just want digital versions, you can get 4K digital versions of all of these on December 12th, less than a month away. That's a lot.
Yeah, I was looking at the comments, and it was let me go back up because it went away.
I got it
Antonio's
for you.
comment.
Oh, on here.
Yeah,
Antonio.
there's a lot to dig into and unpack in that in that comment. I hope they're great sales, that one.
Oh, got it. I hope that great sales of these will prompt Disney to release more Fox. To be fair, I think they've woken up to getting back into physical. So what do you think about that?
So the release more Fox part, I would hope that they would, but I think they will, like, sparingly, like just the big titles.
Yeah.
Ones they know they're gonna make a ton of money on. And a lot of the other stuff is just gonna kind of still sit and rot. And the last part, when he says, to be fair, they've waken up to getting back into physical. It just doesn't feel that way because of one of the things you said. They pulled out of Australia. They had already pulled out of some of the Asian markets,
Yep.
and it just still they're trying to funnel everything back to Disney Plus. So yeah,
Which Disney Plus isn't even great. That's the hard part. It's lower quality than these discs. It doesn't have everything. I mean, that was the big argument when everybody was trying to sell streaming to us as consumers. If Disney gets a streaming service, it'll have everything you've ever wanted from Disney. It doesn't.
No, it does not. And I don't know why. Why wouldn't it? You can put any amount of movies on there you want, or TV shows and shorts, and you can just have everything. If you're really trying to funnel everybody into Disney, you would have everything Disney.
Right. It's true. I see both sides on this, and it is hard to argue with the fact that we're getting tons of James Cameron titles in 4K. We are getting Loki, The Mandalorian, WandaVision, and whatever. I think the other title was another season of The Mandalorian. So we're getting stuff that was from Disney Plus on 4K disc. That's a huge deal.
Mhm.
It's hard to say like that means nothing because it's Disney, but
Right.
also it could mean nothing because it's Disney. We've been fooled many times before into thinking something was going to be great from them. This is a great sign, but it doesn't necessarily meaning that something is coming.
Yeah, I agree, because it's we've seen it before, and for me, it always just has that feel of the same thing I said a minute ago. It's like they're gonna mine the titles that they know are big sellers, and
Right.
the Cameron movies, and of course everything Marvel and Star Wars. And other than that, is kind of, maybe they'll put it out, or maybe they'll put some effort into it. The new movies, they'll get a release, but it might not be anything special. It's just going to be,
Right.
well, here's a release, and then go away until it's proven that it's going to be a big seller, and then it's like, oh, you liked it? Here's 2, 3, 4, 5 more editions of the same movie.
And that kind of goes exactly with what Sibner is saying here in the comments, is they made that deal with Mill Creek, but that deal with Mill Creek was literally just, we're going to re-release titles that we had licensed before. It meant nothing, essentially.
Yeah. And okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't understand. But you would think that's really just free money almost for Disney. They pay you and put out the movie. You don't really have to do anything else other than hold the rights to the movie. So why not let them go wild and pick anything in the Fox catalog, for instance?
Yeah, and that's Def Crocodile here says hopefully they'll license the lesser titles to smaller labels. So it's there's two sides. It is basically printing money for them because they would sell like hotcakes. Let's not argue that.
Yeah.
Well, I won't say any, but we'll say even 60% of the Fox and Disney catalog, if they licensed them out to boutiques, most boutiques would probably sell at least 5,000 to 8,000 copies of them in a heartbeat. And I'm using that number sparingly because I shared this in the Discord because I had a contact let me know, but Tremors 2 from Arrow Video is not out yet. It has already sold more than 7,000 4K copies.
Ooh, okay.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. Yeah.
If Arrow is able to sell 7,000 copies of Tremors 2 on 4K, imagine what some of these Fox titles that people have wanted for years would sell.
Yeah, really.
So two sides, like I said. So it could be like printing money. However, if they don't have newer restorations and they haven't been restored since the VHS era or the DVD era, they would need to restore them first, which would be a pretty penny if they're going to do it right. But then you recoup most of, if not all of that money, and make profit after that. So,
and would they restore them, or would the company that's gonna put it out restore it?
This is where, like, obviously you could give a print to somebody to restore it for you. I don't see Disney trusting anybody with their prints.
Okay.
So they would probably opt to keep them for themselves. And then you would get things like Imprint in Australia. Most of the titles they put out there, in fact, I don't know of anything that they've restored and scanned themselves. It's all been licensing restorations. So that's what Disney and Fox would likely do, is license out restorations of their films.
Okay.
So I would love to see them do that. Will they do that? Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
Sorry to break your heart a little bit there with that Trevor's comment there. Craig, Def Crocodile. Yes, they sold 7,000 copies so far, and that was about 10 days ago when I was told that. They've probably sold a few more since then. So, yeah. Would love to see Midnight Madness get a release. Amen to that. 5,000 copies times $30 each is $150,000. That is fake money to Disney. While true, Disney just wants money, and it's 150,000 more than they're making now. And imagine if they did 10 of those a month to different boutiques.
Exactly. You're over $1 million, and you add that to the bottom line every year.
Times 12. I mean,
12, yeah.
And a couple of those will pop, and you'll probably get 3 million in sales for one title. You're talking real money. Oh yeah, this was a good question that we forgot to discuss. Is the Hulu, Disney buying out Hulu, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I personally, I don't know what Dell's going to say, but I would say any large company buying another large company is always a bad thing because it leads to less competition.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with that. And especially in the case of Disney, because just like we were talking, they pull the reins so tight on things. So who knows what Hulu's going to become, and I know you've already gotten it in an umbrella where you can get it with ESPN Plus and Disney Plus and maybe more things like that, but then they can drive up the price because they know, hey, this is all Hulu, this is Disney. You want it, you got to come here to get it. And at that point, their only real competition then is Netflix, because the other streamers are not quite that big, even though they could be
HBO
better.
Max, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
But even then, all of these, like, man, maybe I shouldn't go down this rabbit hole. We could talk about this probably for like 4 hours, just this discussion. But like I said a few minutes ago, when we were originally sold the idea, like the philosophical idea of streaming, it was Netflix is amazing. Imagine having every title you could ever want at your fingertips at home. That's literally how they told us about this
Yeah.
in 2011, 2012, whatever it was. And back then, the big deal, it's $6.99, $7.99. Nowadays, the 4K plan is $24.99 in some markets, and they have exponentially less titles than they used to have.
And the price keeps going up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not, and well, especially with Netflix. I mean, they changed a lot of their focus to the series,
right, and making their own content,
all these Netflix originals, all the movies and that they put out. So yeah, they have, like you said, a lot less titles than they used to have, for a lot more money. And I mean, do you think the bubble is going to burst on streaming at some point? Because I keep hearing people say that, because there are so many out there, but and most of us have multiple streaming services that we're paying for, so we were essentially paying the same as we were paying for cable anyway.
Well, I'm terrible at promoting myself, but I'll take this opportunity to say next Monday I have an interview dropping with Scarecrow Video, which is the world's largest physical media archive, and we discuss a lot of this. And when we were discussing, we talked about the streaming bubble. I mean, we are at the point where not only do I think the bubble will burst, I think it already has for many people. And I think we're seeing one of two things. One, people are going down to only one streaming service, and maybe cycling out every couple months. They'll go Netflix for a quarter, then Hulu for a quarter, then Max for a quarter, something to be able to catch up on everything. And they don't say, they don't need to stay up to date on everything. But if that's not the case, I think a lot of people are canceling literally everything. I feel like we're finally getting people in back to physical, and I don't really say that as a physical media fan hoping that this comes up into this revival, because let's be honest, it will never be 2006 again for DVDs. Right. But I really have a feeling that we are getting people to come back, and I think it started with the pandemic, with people being at home and realizing, I'm not going to work, I'm sitting at home and I'm running out of things to watch. Why did I ever have this? And realizing they want something tangible with it.
Yeah. I don't know if the streaming is going to come back. I mean, not for streaming, but physical is going to make a comeback. I'm with you. It'll never be 2006 again. Unfortunately, I think digital downloads, I think that's going to be continue to be a bigger and bigger thing, even though, we know that, well, you don't really own it and it can be taken away from you, but it's a convenience thing. And that's what seems to win out most, is convenience. And if I can pick and choose what I want to download for $3.99, $5.99, $9.99, as opposed to having to pay $15, $20, $25 for a streaming service every month, then I'm more likely, not me, but as in more likely to do that.
Yeah. It's a big deal too. Like Ronnie said, people are sick of shows they love being canceled after one season, then being disappeared. I mean, there's, I can't. We could talk about this for hours too, I'm sure. But Warner Brothers taking films and just literally deleting them before anybody sees them for a tax write-off. How is that legal? Probably thousands of people worked on this project, and you just hold up your middle finger and say, nah, we're going to get a couple million back for this. What?
Yeah. At that point, don't even do it. Don't even make it, whatever it is. And it goes to, the penny pushers, the people who count The bean counters, that's what I meant to say. The bean
Yeah.
counters are making the decisions and not the artists. And the bean counters have a place. They should definitely be involved, but they shouldn't get final say in everything. Which I feel like they're having final say in everything.
Yeah, that's it's ridiculous, but the accountants, they run the companies.
Yeah.
Man, this Abyss poster has been on the screen for a long time. Let's keep going. We still got a lot to talk about. Next up, this is a big deal for me. January 16th, we are getting a 4K steelbook of The Raid Redemption. This is the first Raid film from 2011, and this is being done by Sony. And this is a new restoration that was being shown some pictures of about the restoration from the director probably a good 6 or 8 months back. The big thing was when he made this, he didn't have the resources to make it look like he wanted to. And I got to admit, I've whined about some of the color timing changes that we've seen and directors going back and changing things. But this feels very different to me. He had no money, and now that he had some resources, he made this version look incredible. And it's Sony putting it out. I'm sure it's going to be an incredible disc. What do you think of The Raid? Have you seen this? I'm sure you
Oh,
have.
I love the Raid. It's amazing. I'm stuck in between a rock and a hard place. I'm like, okay, do I get this or do I wait for them to do the Raid 2 and then get them both in some sort of set maybe? But yeah, I love this movie and I'm curious to see what it looks like in 4K because I have it on Blu-ray and it's like you said, it doesn't look spectacular. It's not a clean looking movie. Let me put it that
Right.
way. But the cinematography is amazing. So I could imagine what the upgraded version is going to look like.
Have you seen any of the still pictures that he
I
shared?
haven't. I haven't seen any of the stills of it yet.
Oh, it looks so much better. Not only does it look just plain cleaner, but it looks like a real it looks like real colors. The when you if you watch the old Blu-ray version, it looks very muted.
Yes, that was what I
It
was
looks
going
like they
to
filmed it in the middle of a desert and there was dust on the lens when they did it. And man, this movie, if you have never seen this movie, well, I'll let you talk. I was talking about the streaming. What is great about this movie?
it tells a story almost completely through action, and the action and the choreography of that action is amazing. It's what 10 years, 12 years old now,
Yep.
and there's still not been better fight choreography to my mind. And Iko Uwais, who plays the main character, he's an amazing star. He just does some crazy outlandish things along with a few other people in the cast, and just the things that they do you just not seen in other action movies, certainly not in American action movies.
Right.
And the big difference for me is that cinematography. In American action movies, a lot, they're trying to hide the actors sometimes, and you get so many cuts. It's one guy will throw a punch, and by the time he throws the punch and it lands on the other person, you get 3, 4, 5 cuts, and
Yeah.
it's like, what just happened here? You get boom, cut, then a cut from this angle, then another shot, and then he finally hits him in the face. The camera is far enough back, you can see all the action, but it's still close enough that you feel like you're a part of it almost. And then the way that the director uses the camera to actually follow blows that are thrown or things that are done instead of cutting, piece, 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 piece. So for instance, if a guy, there's a scene where a guy gets stabbed in his thigh and it's dragged down, the knife is dragged down his thigh. Well, the camera actually follows the stab down and then, or to the leg and then down the leg. And it's just a crazy effect when you see it. And it adds to that cringe factor, a good cringe factor, not like it's bad. It's a good cringe factor because you see something like that, and as that knife is dragging down, you're going, "Oh my god!" I kind of feel that in my own own leg. And
Yeah.
the story, it's a thin story, no doubt about it. It's a thin story, but it helps tell the story that you just can't help but have a good time with it.
Yeah, the action in this is what I think people that have never seen this feel about John Wick. But
Mhm.
the raid did it first, and it did it better in my opinion. There's so many
Yes,
scenes in
better.
John Wick that if it used the like kinetic filmography of the raid, it would feel more immersive in a sense. But
Mhm.
the way that the raid follows certain things, like the making of on this is incredible. If you've never seen this, this movie is amazing. They showed in the making of like there's a scene where somebody fights and they go through a hole in an apartment and land on the floor
Yeah,
below.
land on the floor below.
And
Yeah.
they show that it took the entire day of filming just to do that one scene because the cameraman goes through the floor with them
Oh
to
yeah.
make you absorb the feeling of that hit.
Yeah.
And this movie's incredible. How do you feel about the sequel?
I like the sequel. I don't like it as much, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's too long.
Yeah.
It's just way too long. It's like shorten that up. Give me all the same action scenes. Tighten up the story because it just kind of tries to do too much. And I think this is the movie that the director was really trying to make or wanted to make the first time, but couldn't because he didn't have the financial resources to do so.
Yeah.
And I think he got a little carried away.
Yeah, and I think in a not great way either. One of the things, because he had no money for this one, he was stuck in one location, and I think that helps the movie.
Yes.
It doesn't expand in ways that it doesn't need to, because where do you go? It's in an apartment building. You just go up, and eventually you have to stop. So
Right.
it provides this limit to the director, and it works out in his favor. Instead of feeling epic in scope, it's epic on a small scale and makes you love every scene.
Right. Now that said, like some of those fight scenes from the sequel are spectacular also, and you're talking about the kind of making of things in the sequel. There's this scene, the car chase, where he's fighting in the car, and it's like this incredible one take where the camera is just following along and going from car to car, and they show how that happened, where basically the cameraman is strapped in a green suit, so you can't see him. He's strapped into the car holding the camera, and then he's passing the camera off to another guy in another car, and it's all seamlessly done when it shows up. So they're really fun scenes when they get to the action.
I love that scene. I can't imagine how many times that something wasn't just handed off exactly perfectly. They're like, nope,
Right.
do it again. God, that would be awful.
Mhm.
Carrying on, January 23rd, Welgo is releasing Your Lucky Day from 2023. And this is an Angus Cloud film. It says, after a dispute over a winning lottery ticket turns into a deadly hostage situation, the witnesses must decide exactly how far they'll go and how much blood they're willing to spill for a cut of the $156 million.
That
Interesting
sounds
premise.
interesting. Yeah, that
Yeah,
does sound interesting. I have to
very
check that out.
interesting. Criterion, it is time. February 6th, 4K release coming of McCabe and Mrs. Miller. Great film, Robert Altman. Great, not taking anything away from the film itself. This announcement, though, a little underwhelming for me. How do you feel about this?
Pretty much the same. I saw this movie. I thought it was okay. It wasn't, one of my top westerns or anything.
Right.
It was okay, and I like Warren Beatty well enough, but didn't really blow my socks off.
My big thing, the release that they put out fairly recently of McCabe and Mrs. Miller was a Blu-ray that was done from a 4K scan. This is a 4K disc, but doesn't have any HDR. The movie itself is made to look pretty muddy, and without
Mhm.
HDR, I don't see why this is worth the upgrade to 4K over that Blu-ray.
Sometimes it's almost just a marketing scheme. It's like, hey, here's 4K. Go buy this, and then you get
Right.
into the details. It has or doesn't have certain things. But a lot of times, we kind of salivate as soon as we hear 4K and just run out and buy things.
Like, yeah, if you don't have the old Blu-ray, this will be the one to own, of course. But
Right.
I see no reason to upgrade if you have the old Blu-ray on this. For a very muddy movie without the expanded colors, like I don't see the point on this one at all, especially when that recent Blu-ray, it's the exact same scan. It's just going to be slightly more fine-tuned. Like, not enough for me.
Yeah.
Next up is Eric Romer's Tales of the Four Seasons box set. This is including, I believe, 4 films in this from 1990 to 1998. And these are new 2K digital restorations supervised by cinematographer Diane Baratier and Laurent Scherer, the director Romer's son. and with the uncompressed monaural soundtracks, new interview program recorded at his house in Toul, France, and some documentaries, some short films, lots of stuff in this, and an essay by Imogen Sarah Smith. Sounds like a fun release if you're into Romer.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with him at all, so I don't really know anything by him.
Yes, Davey, no HDR on that one. And in fact, all of the 4Ks coming out this month, we're going to talk about it. Only one of these has HDR. That's the big shock to me. So yeah, that was Romer. I don't think I've seen anything from Romer either, unfortunately. This one though, this is a big deal. The Heroic Trio and Executioners, the Johnny Toe films, these are coming on 4K and Blu-ray on February 20th, and I am very excited about this. Michelle Yeoh, Maggie Chung, big deal titles, ones that people have wanted for a long time, and to get the recognition through Criterion, that's pretty damn cool for these.
Yeah, because honestly, it sounds like an Arrow title.
Yes,
that's what I would think. And I saw The Executioners years ago, and it was a good movie. I really did like it. It's time for rewatch because I don't remember too much about it. I haven't seen Heroic Trio though, but I'm in at Michelle Yeoh, so
yeah. Yeah, this is a big one, and once again, no HDR on this 4K disc. You in this are going to have one 4K disc of the films and two Blu-rays with the films and special features. You've got a new interview with Anthony Wong, which is really cool that Anthony Wong is interviewed for a Criterion disc. But then for a lot of people that follow this channel, something that's really cool, new interview with Sam Deegan, she's a Vinegar Syndrome producer. She is the co-host of the Twitch of the Death Nerve podcast, done so many audio commentaries out there. This is a big deal. I'm so happy for Sam. So glad that she was able to be a part of this. She's been on the channel. It is incredible. I'm so glad for her.
Yeah, that's cool.
Davey says, Imogen Sarah Smith is my favorite film writer or film commenter. That's awesome. I mean, yeah, she's up there. Nicomedes, hey Criterion, how about more extras? What happened to the extras, especially on the Heroic Trio set? I agree to a point. This one, I think this one is going to be fairly competitively priced compared to what it normally would be for this, but also it's two films and they're putting them on one 4K disc, and if they were going to do that, it would be a lot on there. Anyways, yeah, I agree.
So when James was mentioning this the other night, 2021st, shout out to James. Yeah, I mentioned in his channel, I had never heard of them doing two 4K movies on one disc. Have you heard of that before?
It's a good question. I don't know. Now that I think about it, the Bud Bedecker set, I wonder if that is like that for Criterion. That just got released too. I imagine that probably shares a disc.
Okay. It just feels like a lot of information to put on one disc.
If you don't have many extras and you put two 4K titles that are 90 minutes on a 100 gig disc, that is probably sufficient for just the film. It's tough.
Yeah.
Craig says, I just synced a Sam Deegan commentary for an as yet unreleased title today. Awesome.
Cool.
They always get Sam on their titles. Next up, Nothing But a Man, the Michael Romer film. This is from 1964. This is coming on Blu-ray on February 20th. I've not seen this one. Sounds like you're excited about this one. Have you seen this one?
I haven't seen it. I am excited about it. I've heard about it, and it's kind of reignited my excitement hearing about it the other day. So I'm looking forward to it. But no, I haven't seen this one either.
Yeah, this is like the perfect example of a film that should have been in the Criterion Collection probably 10 years ago. And I don't know if we can say this is because of, like KB brought up earlier, because of the New York Times article that was printed about diversity for them. But this is one that should have got attention a long time ago. And I'm glad it's coming. Glad that I'm going to be able to see this. But yeah, this movie looks and sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it does. I'm looking forward to it. Seriously.
Dude McMahon is sharing that for the Scream Factory 4K of Slumber Party Massacre 1 and 2, those are on one 4K disc together, but they're both only 75 minutes each. So that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then Lee for Leif says that Bud set did stack 2 movies per 4K disc. That doesn't surprise me either. I think most of those are fairly short as well. Yeah, long overdue. It's a great movie. Yeah, love that. Next up is The Roaring Twenties. This is from 1939, coming on February 27th on 4K and Blu-ray. And this is incredible. And what's funny, this is the only title all month coming on 4K that is going to have HDR, and it's coming with Dolby Vision HDR. This is going to be a great disc, probably. This has an audio commentary with film historian Lincoln Hurst, a new interview with the critic Gary Giddens, excerpt from a 73 interview with the director, and then an essay by film critic Mark Ash. This is shaping up to be a pretty quick buy for me.
Yeah, for me too. Cagney and gangster movies go together, I mean, perfectly. And this is a really good one. He's clearly the star. He carries the movie completely. I see Humphrey Bogart there, and I've seen the movie. I'm not a huge Bogart fan personally. So he's just kind of like supporting guy. I mean, he's the other main character technically in the movie because he and Cagney's character are best friends, but it's so much a Cagney movie, and he just dominates the screen anytime he's on it.
If you are out there and you've never seen this movie and you need it to be sold to you, one of the best gangster films of all time, like easily top 10, no question about it. But, and I might make some people mad by saying this, I think this has the best ending for a gangster movie of all time. I don't think any other gangster movie even comes close for that final.
Interesting. Maybe the another Cagney movie has a really good ending though. Actually, several of them. White Heat and The Public Enemy also have great endings.
Yep, I agree. Highlighting some titles that are available on YouTube for free. I will always say support physical media, but definitely a good thing for people to be able to check out at least some scenes from some of these to see if you're going to be into it. But also, it's YouTube. It's going to look like crap compared to this 4K disc. Come on.
Yeah, it is.
All right, that's it for Criterion. Next up from Severin, they are releasing a 4K Blu-ray CD 3-disc set from Michele Soavi's The Sect from 1991. And this one probably shouldn't be a surprise for a lot of people. They already announced The Church, and it seems like to me, The Church and The Sect are probably from the same rights owners, and they've always come from the same company. Whenever one of them comes out, the other one either always comes out right with it or following shortly after, because I swear it has to be a package deal for these two films. It's always a 2-for-1.
Okay, I'm not familiar with these movies. And you said CD as in they have the soundtrack with it?
Yes. Severin is one of very few companies that is really great about trying to capture some of the scores and putting them on the discs.
That's where I've gone away from physical. Actually, I haven't bought a CD in God knows how long.
I haven't bought a CD in a long time, but funny enough, my next pickup video for my Patreon, I've got some vinyl in there. I still do that from time to time, and I don't even have a working turntable right now. I haven't had one in a few years, so I definitely need a new one.
Yeah, a lot of people are buying them. I haven't really gotten into them. I have one piece of vinyl, and that's a Purple Rain album that my brother actually bought me. I didn't even buy it. He just knew I was into Prince and said, "Hey, look what I found." And I was like, "Hey, cool."
I don't know did you see that comment earlier from Craig from Deaf Crocodile? He says he clicked on your link and went and saw Purple Rain, and that was an immediate subscribe.
Oh, thank you. I didn't see that comment. I missed it, but thank you. Yeah, we talked about. I did a lot of talking about Purple Rain last week. We had on Movie Swap. We talked about it because my guest had never seen it, and then that triggered an episode of Movie Theater Memories when I talked about me going to see Purple Rain at 13 years old in the theater.
Yeah, that's a big deal, and at 13, man, that's got to be formidable then.
Oh yeah. That was definitely a turning point in my life right there.
The first time everybody gets into Prince. That's a big deal. Next up from Kino, Run Silent, Run Deep from 1958. Yet another war film
Yeah.
coming. New audio commentary by Steve Mitchell and Stephen J. Rubin, the same pair that we talked about a little while ago. This one's got some alternate art. Never seen this one, but it's a Clark Gable, Burt Lancaster film. I bet it's got two very brutish performances in this. But big thing to note is that this is a re-release. They put out this film in 2014. This has now been encoded at a higher bit rate and on a dual layer BD 50 gig disc, giving this a lot less compression. It should look better, and they've also added a new commentary, new art, and the slipcover on it. So it will be pretty different.
Yeah. Clark Gable was another big blind spot for me. I've seen Gone with the Wind, and I don't know if I've seen anything else he's been in.
Trying to think, there's got to be at least another big one that a lot of people have. I don't know. Silvestri is saying, how much do we think the Severin Black Friday bundle will be? I'm going around $300. Well, I mean, we're gonna have 9 releases, and so far, I think 3 of them are 4Ks and 5 of them are Blu-rays. That's a lot of money right there.
Yeah.
If tomorrow is another 4K, that could be expensive. Speaking of 4K, we got a ton of 88 Films announcements today, and we are breaking into the first of them. March 25th on 4K and Blu-ray in the UK, they are releasing The Blood on Satan's Claw from 1971. This was released previously by Severin on a limited Blu-ray. But the big thing is this is coming as part of a new Tygon collection. Tygon was a production company in the UK, sort of like an Amicus or a Hammer. Mm-hmm. And God, first off, the cover art on this looks incredible. I love this style.
It looks good. Yeah, it looks really good.
Folk horror. Are you into much folk horror at all? Have you ever seen this one?
I don't know if I've seen this one. Let me put it that way, because it feels like one of those titles that was on late night a lot on back in the day. So I might have come across it and seen it and just not known it. And it looks like something that I would watch for sure. So I don't think I've seen it, but it's possible that I have.
One thing that people saw a lot that was very much like that is the next title we're going to talk about. So that's probably on that line. We'll talk about the extras in just a second, but I saw a comment. Where did it go? I need to scroll back down that I was going to say. Are we going to need to wait until spring to actually receive Severin's Black Friday releases? From what I hear, no, which is going to come as a shock to a lot of people. But I hear that they're trying to have all of them on hand by the sale. Now, I don't know if that actually worked, but I have a feeling that it may have, because if you've been waiting on their last like 2.5 months of titles, a bunch of people just got shipping notices in the last about 10 days or so. I feel like they got a lot of stuff in, and they might be right on the edge of sending all these out. Let's see. Clark Gable was excellent in It Happened One Night.
Oh, yes, I take that. But I did see It Happen One Night. KB had me watch that, so I did see that.
Ronnie brought up It Happened One Night as well, and I missed that.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, that's a big one. So The Blood on Satan's Claw, I am probably going to get some flack here. I don't love this movie. I probably need to watch it again. I've seen it once or twice, but it just didn't capture me the first time. Yeah, I'll give it another watch. I still have the Severin, the Blu-ray they did that is now out of print, or out of print from Severin, because it comes back during some of the sales and such. But it's an interesting movie, just not one that really captures me. And it could be because I love this next one so much. They are also releasing on March 25th, Witchfinder General from 1968, starring the late, great Vincent Price. And man, these are loaded discs. This one has a brand new audio commentary by Kim Newman and Sean Hogan, and some other random stuff on this. And this is coming as part of the Tygon collection as well. My big thing, and I don't know if you follow the saga, but all of the 88 Films 4K discs have had issues so far. Almost every single one has had a replacement disc program already. So that's kind of scary to blind buy their 4Ks.
Yeah, I've heard that before. I don't really have much 88 Films. I don't know if I have any in my collection, maybe one or two. But I have heard that. I don't have any of their 4Ks. I know I might have some of their Blu-rays. Yeah, that's pretty rough. If you know going in, you're going to have a headache.
Yeah. They spent a lot of time announcing titles today, and in the middle they announced a replacement coming for one of their 4K discs. So it keeps coming. David says the Blood and Satan's Claw is fine, but not going to need to upgrade it. I get that. Carrie Mulligan, imagine if you spent the rest of your life rewatching the films you're supposed to like. Feels like a dig. I'm not going to take it like that, but I want to say I notice in myself and in a lot of other people that there are a lot of times where you go to watch a movie and maybe you weren't in the right mood, weren't in the right mindset, or maybe not even up to the point where you could really get that movie yet. There's sometimes that life experiences will help you appreciate a film. And I don't think Blood on Satan's Claw is one I'm supposed to like. I just know that there was enough that was interesting about it that I do want to watch it again to see if I could appreciate it.
I'm curious to see it myself, to see if I had actually seen it, because I watched so many movies back then that either had blood or Satan in the title. So I don't.
That was a big deal back then. That was right before the whole satanic panic era, and those words were everywhere. Deaf Crocodile says from Craig, am I imagining this was 88 Films an OCN label at one point? Yes, you are imagining that. They were never an OCN partner label. They do stuff in the US, but it's through MVD. They're just 88 Films. They've been doing that. I think we're going on almost 2 years now. They don't have a ton of releases in the US, but they're amassing quite a few. And we're going to talk, I think out of everything they announced today, only 2 are coming to the US. Next up, coming from 88 Films in the US and the UK, The Inspector Wears Skirts 2. This is the sequel to the first one. The first one is coming out from 88 Films next month. This one is from 1989, has an audio commentary with the man, the myth, the legend, Frank Jang. New 2K restoration from the OCN. Hong Kong trailer, an interview with the director. Looks fun if you're into this type of movie. I mean, there's a lot to love in this art. There's a lot going on.
Oh, there is a lot happening. I definitely want to see this. But did I hear it right? Is the same label releasing the original after the sequel?
No, the sequel is coming out in March, and the original is coming out next month.
Oh, okay. I got it. Okay.
Thankfully. Sibner is pointing out that Rare Waves is having a 2 for £21 sale on 88 Films right now. Interesting.
Yeah.
What's going on, Adam Kahn? Dude McMahon, whatever happened to 101 Films? They're still releasing stuff. They just did Memento recently, and they did another Nolan film, I think, and some others. Yeah, they're still doing plenty.
No, Memento is so good.
Carrie Mulligan, it's not a dig, but I just think it's funny when people keep watching a movie and continues to not like it. But I understand movies can be perceived differently through maturity.
It happens, and sometimes, like you said, you're just not in the space where you can appreciate it,
right?
Or it's a movie that just didn't grab you the first time. Because I'm like that with Blade Runner. First time I watched, I was bored to tears, and then the second time, because everybody kept saying, it's great, you got to check it out again, give it another chance. So I gave it another chance, and I liked it a little bit better. I didn't love it, but I liked it a little bit better. And then I watched it a third time, and it was like, okay, I like it even a little bit better now. I'm still not a place where I love the movie, but I can see my perception of it changing as I revisit it. And it's not something I revisit all the time. I mean, these three viewings that I've had of it are spread over a decade or so, even more than a decade, maybe 2 decades. So it's like, there's some space in between them, and I come back and I'm not quite the same viewer I was the last time I saw it.
Yeah. David Lash says that 101 Memento was just repackaging right. I feel like there was negativity. The negativity is because the movie itself didn't look the same or better than the previous release. I think it had some slight changes and edits and maybe a line or two of dialogue missing even. But I do believe that it had some new extras, so it's not quite just a repackage. Next up from 88. Oh, not 88. We'll go back to 88 after this. December 12th, Blu-ray from Cinedigm. They are releasing The Dirty South from 2023 with Willa Holland, Shane West, a name I've not heard in quite a long time, and Dermot Mulroney. And this one, I mean, I don't even know how to feel about this. This says Sue Parker finds herself in a desperate battle to save her family's struggling business, which is on the brink of collapse due to her father's neglect. When a handsome drifter comes into town, she sees him as the only chance to prevent their bar from falling into the hands of a ruthless local tycoon. What starts as a simple plan to save her family quickly spirals into larceny, lawlessness, and deadly consequences. Because when your bar is going to be stolen from you, what do you do? Of course.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm trying to look at this. Is it a Western or is it one of those modern Westerns or is it just I'm way off here?
I have no idea. I did not watch the trailer. The poster is screaming like wannabe neo noir, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I really want you to think that this is Blood Simple when watching it, but it's definitely not type.
Right.
Dermot Mulroney is great in Copycat and not so great in Scream 6. But hey, David says, hey there, handsome drifter. Next up, from Scream Team Releasing, they put out a lot of indie horror. They are releasing a Cadaver Christmas from 2011. Gotta love holiday horror. It says, prepare yourself for a festive holiday themed zombie comedy unlike any other, a cross between It's a Wonderful Life and Night of the Living Dead. A Cadaver Christmas tells the story of an unlikely band of heroes charged with the task of saving the world from an army of living corpses that are quickly recruiting new members. The dead have been given the gift of life this Christmas, and it is up to a university janitor to take it back. This has an audio commentary that's brand new by Joe Zarul and Daniel Reardeen Hale, making a featurette, some outtakes, a trailer, 4 shorts, which is pretty rare for Scream Team Releasing. They don't usually get stuff like that. That's pretty cool. And then this will be on a 25 gig disc that is pressed. You can also order a signed copy of this if you want it. And they've got a bunch of people signing it. You can get a poster of the film if you're really into it. Scream Team Releasing does great stuff. If you've never checked them out, highly recommend it.
Yeah, I've never had anything from them. And Cadaver Christmas sounds interesting. Sounds like fun.
It does. And I really like this cover art.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot happening there.
Video Store is asking, would you call The Matrix a neo-noir? Not really. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know where I would get the noir side of it.
No, yeah, I wouldn't, other than the character's name is Neo, but I wouldn't.
That was probably the joke there.
Yeah.
It just went over my head, but yeah, it's hilarious. God, that was a good one, and somehow I missed that. Next up, Eureka announced 3 titles today. We are getting a little-known indie director named Stanley Kubrick. I hope I'm saying that right. His film Paths of Glory from 1957 coming on 4K UHD as part of the Eureka, I believe it's Masters of Cinema. Yeah, Masters of Cinema collection. They've got audio commentary with Adrian Martin on this, video interview with Peter Kramer, video interview with Richard Ayoade, which is interesting. I don't know if that was on I think there was an old release. I'm not sure if that was on there. I did not check today because it was so busy, but yeah, this looks pretty decent. Have you seen most of Kubrick's stuff?
I've seen a good number of them. I have seen this movie. It's a good movie. I really did enjoy it. It's funny though, because I turned around just to make sure, but you know, he also did Full Metal Jacket.
Yep.
And Full Metal Jacket gets a lot of flack because people say the first half is so great and the second half is not. I personally think both halves are spectacular. But if you haven't seen Paths of Glory, you get a similar kind of thing. And a lot of Kubrick films actually do this. There's right at the halfway point, kind of it becomes a different movie.
Yep.
And that's what happens here. The first half, you know, this World War One, I think it's World War One they're in. And yes. You know, they're spending a lot of time in the trenches and showing what's happening in there. The second half of the movie is basically a court martial. So when you're watching that for the second half of the movie, and I think it's really good. It's really, but if you're one of those people who can't stand when Kubrick does that, then I can see having a problem with it.
And also not liking any of his movies.
Yeah. Clockwork Orange does it, and Eyes Wide Shut does it, kind of. But yeah,
hell, Shining even does it. Really,
Shining does it. Yeah.
If you've never seen this, incredible movie. I mean, it's Kubrick. They're all fantastic. This is very not what I was talking about earlier. This is not a propaganda war film. This is a very anti-war film.
Yes, this is this and Full Metal Jacket. To be honest, they're both anti-war movies.
Absolutely. And if you've never seen either one of them, highly recommend. And Eureka, this release is probably a great place to do it. If you've never checked out Eureka, I never hesitate to remind people that Eureka does free worldwide shipping. So if you want to order direct from them, it's the cost of the film. That's it. Free shipping worldwide, even if you're buying one film. Like, how do you argue with that? How are they not losing money on this?
I don't know. It's I don't know who. Maybe they own the postal service there. I have no idea.
Two more from Eureka. The first one is Yakuza Wolf 1 and 2 from 1972. This is a duo of ultra-violent Yakuza thrillers starring the late, great Sonny Chiba, available for the first time ever in the UK. This one is going to have a new feature-length commentary, and that'll be on both films. New featurette by Howard Hughes, looking at the spaghetti western influence on Yakuza Wolf. And this also have a booklet with new writing by Tom Mess, who is an incredible writer on Japanese cinema, and Howard Hughes. This looks like a solid damn release.
It does, and I want to see this. I'm only seeing Sonny Chiba in the Street Fighter movies.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And of course, when he pops up in Tarantino somewhere.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Next is one that a lot of people were excited about today. Chuck Norris in Slaughter in San Francisco, coming from Eureka on February 19th on Blu-ray in the UK. And I'm not a Chuck Norris guy myself, as many people know, because they hate that about me. But this has new feature-length audio commentary by Frank Jang and Michael Worth. That is on the Hong Kong theatrical version of the film. And then Mike Leader and Arna Venema, they are on the U.S. export version. There's some new interviews, new featurettes, and then a booklet with new writing by James Oliver. And man, Chuck Norris, not even recognizable in this cover art.
No, when you put it up there, is that Chuck Norris?
You can kind of see it, but
yeah.
Wow.
And then when you said it, I was like, okay, it is Chuck Norris. And honestly, I'm actually with you. I'm not a huge Chuck Norris guy either. He's I don't think he can act for anything. and I know he's real life karate champion, but his on-screen fighting was never impressive to me. And of course, if I got in a ring with Chuck Norris, even at his advanced age, he'd probably kill me. But when I'm watching him on screen, I've never really had that wow factor.
Yeah,
it's just a few movies I do like, but yeah, I can take or leave most of his movies.
I've never loved him. He's never played a believable character to me. This guy's definitely not a Texas Ranger. But either way, the feathered hair here definitely sells it for me.
Oh yeah. He's Chuck Norris. No matter what he's in, he's Chuck Norris.
Oh yeah. Whoops. Somehow went double. Next, Classic Flicks. They are releasing the second season of the Abbott and Costello Show on Blu-ray and DVD on January 30th. This is the type of thing that I am still shocked that we are getting on physical media. Like, this is something that you don't ever expect to get love, but this is being restored from the original 35 millimeter master elements by the 3D Film Archive in collaboration with the Library of Congress. This is going to look incredible, like all of the Classic Flick stuff. This is the second and final season of the show, and you can pre-order this from their website. And it's got some bonus features even. You got some audio commentaries by Stu Fink and Ron Palumbo. Bonus content reel featuring Vacation. It's a real one without the audience. You got season 1 edited scene restoration, a Campbell's soup promo from that time, Easy Pop commercials, the lost episode called Star Reporters, and then the season 2 theme, the mystery theme, additional crew and staff credits. I mean, this is the type of release that is great, but I feel like hardly anybody ever purchases.
Yeah. I grew up on Abbott and Costello, so I love those guys. And honestly, I wasn't aware the first season was on Blu-ray, so I might have to get both of those at some point. But I used to watch them every Sunday. They used to come on in New York. I used to watch them every Sunday morning. Sometimes it was a movie, sometimes it was the show. So I've seen a lot of their stuff, and everybody always talks about who's on first.
Yeah.
and I can probably recite it myself. It's fantastic. Recently, well, during the summer, I went to this huge used bookstore uh, called Ed McKay's in North Carolina. There's a few of them around the country, but that day I went in there and I, came out with a stack of movies, a bunch of things I had upgraded from either DVD or Blu-ray to 4K, and some other things I rarely found. But my prized possession that day was I found Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein on Blu-ray. So I was thrilled with that. And going back to their comedy routine, yes, Who's on First is a classic, and yes, it's the best thing ever. But if you've never seen it, go. It's on YouTube somewhere. 7 times 13 equals 28. Find it. You're welcome.
Great stuff. We had a question from Video Store Review. I don't know who Abbott and Costello are. What's the vibe? How would you sell Abbott and Costello, Dell?
They're like, I'm trying to think of somebody modern who could come close to comparing. At least maybe not skill wise, but just kind of as far as the vibe between them. Maybe almost like well, this is not really recent, but maybe a Sam Malone and Woody kind of thing.
Yeah. It's
Know,
very like wholesome.
Yeah.
Wholesome brother vibe comedy.
Wholesome brother, best friend. You got a straight guy and you got a kind of goofy guy. And it's all clever comedy. It's not Three Stooges. I mean, there is some slapstick to it, but it's not Three Stooges where it's all slapstick.
It's much more varied.
Yeah, much more varied. And it's one of those, sometimes you'll listen to it and it's like, it'll take you a minute to get it. And then once you get it, it's the funniest thing you've ever heard. And in some, it's just so rapid fire and you can't help but laugh. And they're, think of anything where you got two guys. Really, a lot of buddy cop movies they try to have that kind of dynamic where you have one character who'll be the straight kind of lace kind of guy, and then the other character's kind of silly, kind of goofy, or just a wild hair. It's that kind of vibe, except like you said, much more wholesome and much more witty.
Yeah, that's a good word. It's very clever comedy sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 88 Films. We got a glut of stuff to talking about. So they had announced the Jess Franco Count Dracula was coming on 4K right after Severin announced theirs. This is coming on March 25th. We finally have the date, and this is getting a brand new 4K remaster. Not sure if it's the same one as the Severin. We're probably never going to find that out for sure. This has an audio commentary with Kim Newman and Sean Hogan, audio commentary with Troy Howarth and Nathaniel Thompson, and Dracula in the South here. I read this and I didn't know what that was. That could be like 19 different things. I found out from Troy Howarth, this is actually a video interview with Troy Howarth. It's the first time that he's done a video interview, and he's talking about the different versions of Dracula. I'm actually really excited about that. I feel like he would do great doing something like that.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen this movie, but yeah, I have seen this. It's a fun one. That's for sure.
How do you feel about Jess Franco as a whole then?
Neither here nor there, to be honest.
I don't have Jess Franco's always a poking point on this channel.
Yeah, I just in one way or other, he doesn't really bother me or excite me. Either way,
depending on the film, he can do both to me. So this looks like a solid release, but again, 88 Films 4K. We'll see. It's hard to trust. Next up is another 4K, A Blade in the Dark, coming. This is from 1983. This is the same film that Vinegar Syndrome released on 4K. This is again, they say brand new 4K remaster. I imagine it's probably from the Vinegar Syndrome restoration. They likely either licensed that or did it with them or helped pay for it. This is going to have the director's approved cut and the extended TV cut, adding another 12 minutes of the film for Dell and I.
Oh yeah, there you go.
They got an audio commentary with Eugenio Ercolani and Troy Howarth, who've both been on the channel. Great dudes. There's an interview with Lamberto Bava. There's an interview with the cinematographer and some archival features. But those new ones, the interview with Lamberto Bava and the cinematographer, those were both brand new, done by Eugenio Ercolani in person in Italy. And this looks solid. And those, I believe, are not on the Vinegar Syndrome release, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one. I don't know much about this at all.
I don't love it. I got to be honest. I've still not watched the new Vinegar Syndrome 4K because I watched the. I think it was on Tubi, and I watched it literally like maybe 45 days before Vinegar Syndrome announced the 4K that I was going to get in my subscription. So perfect timing. And I got to admit, the restoration may have colored my thoughts a little bit because it looked god awful. But this movie was just kind of boring to me. I'm kind of surprised that people are super into this movie.
Yeah, you can't judge how something's gonna look though by Tubi, that's for sure.
No, it is basically a given that if you're watching it on Tubi, it's gonna look god awful, and
Yeah.
usually somehow even worse than YouTube, which not real sure how that works, but hey, they pull it off.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Next up, they are releasing on March 11th in the UK and March 12th in the US. This is the other US release I was talking about, The Beauty of Beauties from 1965. This says, in a story drawn from China's legendary Warring States period, the king of Yu, Guijan, is defeated and imprisoned by the king of Wu, Fucha. Not a super compelling synopsis, but it's coming out. We got new subs on this, brand new 4K remaster from the OCN, interview with the Oriental cinema expert Tony Raines, and a trailer restoration comparison.
No, yeah, I don't know this one either. Wow.
Yeah, this one is interesting. In 1965, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Ronnie is asking, am I taking next Thursday off for Thanksgiving, or will there be a live stream like usual? Not only will I be live streaming like usual, it is Vinegar Syndrome night next Thursday, so of course I'll be here. And the wonderful Celeste de la Cabra will be my guest, and we will be streaming for hours and hours, I promise you. Next week's going to be a wild ride. Everybody better be here. We're going to be here all night.
Celeste is the greatest.
Celeste is amazing. I
Yes.
love Celeste.
He's Celeste is one of those people that when I listen to them talk film, I feel dumb.
Me too, every time. Yeah, Celeste is incredible, and God, she's got the analysis for film that I wish I could say on this show all the
Yes.
time, but I don't. First off, I don't have time to discuss each one for 20 minutes in depth, but also I don't have that ability. I
Right.
wish I could.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're fairly young.
Oh yeah,
It's amazing.
early 20s, early 20s.
Yeah. Early 20s. You know, if it didn't have boobs or guns, I wasn't interested.
And you know what, while we're heaping all of the praise on Celeste, the other thing, Celeste is helping me host the Shelf Shock Rewind Awards this year, so I might as well start hyping that up now. That's going to be February 18th live, and when we are doing that, we are making this so much bigger than last year. We've got the CSC is already bundled together. We're starting to start voting on those titles here pretty soon, and you as the community will get to vote a little later. More on that coming up soon.
Oh, cool. Looking forward to that.
February 26th, they are releasing So Close from 2002. And a very like 1993, like wannabe Boys to Men vibe.
I was gonna say this looks so cheesy.
I mean, I'm into it, but very cheesy.
Yeah.
And the alternate art that they have on here doesn't help. It's very 1993 glamour shots that you'd see at a swap meet.
Yes. Yeah. They wow. And you said 2000 and
2002.
2002. Yeah. Okay.
This says a conflict of interest between two high-kicking assassin sisters is complicated as they're pursued by the criminals who hired them and an equally high-kicking female cop.
Oh. So we got action martial arts kind of deal?
Yeah. Looks like a late 90s girl group, says Ronnie. Brian
Yeah.
says this is a fun flick. Oh, nice. Craig just got word that the upcoming folk horror title, the color grade, is complete. Nice.
Okay. So is this like an answer to Charlie's Angels, maybe?
That's kind of what I'm getting from it. Yeah. This says it's going to have an interview with Karen Mock, interview with Shu Kui, interview with Vicky Zhao Wei, and then some featurettes, Japanese press conference, action commentary. I mean, this sounds like a decent release.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. I probably wouldn't buy it, but I'm going to find out where I can watch it. That looks interesting.
Yes, that would be nice. Sibner says, looks like someone just discovered Photoshop from 2000. Michael says, I mentioned Troy Howarth when Craig from Deaf Crocodile's on your channel. He sounds exactly like Troy to me. When you mentioned that last time, Michael, I like looked the other direction and listened to Craig, and I totally get that. I've listened to so many Troy commentaries. I hear it. This one I was not expecting. February 26th, they are releasing the Amityville Horror, the original on 4K in the UK. It's also coming on Blu-ray and DVD if you're super into DVD still in 2023. This is going to have an audio commentary with Josh Sacco and Claire Donner, a brand new audio commentary with Kim Newman and Sean Hogan. There's another audio commentary here from a previous release with the parapsychologist, Dr. Hans Holzer, and a whole bunch of featurettes. Sounds like a fun release. We don't have actual cover art yet. And
This came out on 4K not that long ago, right?
From Vinegar Syndrome, yeah, just last year.
Yeah. Now, I got a hot take on this. I think the remake is better. the Ryan Reynolds remakes. Oh, I got someone who agrees.
But on top of that, the sequel, Amityville Horror 2, is so much better than this one. That's my big hot take.
I haven't seen the sequel. I watched it. I was like, it's okay.
You can stop at like Amityville 8. You don't need to go all the way to Amityville 43 or whatever we're up to now.
There are plenty of them,
yeah. You probably don't need to buy the Amityville vibrator.
Wow.
That's a real movie. That's a real movie.
I know they also have Amityville in the Hood.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. I feel like a lot of the newer Amityville films are either money laundering schemes or just an attempt to get people to quickly buy a film before the reviews come out.
Yeah, just put Amityville on it and see what happens.
Yep. I mean, there's literally a film called Amityville Toilet. Like that alone tells you all you need to know about the franchise.
Yeah.
Oh man. Anyways, next up, Franco Nero, one of the best ever, is coming on Blu-ray in Street Law on February 26th. This is going to be a part of the Italian collection, which I feel like a lot of people were complaining that they've not been doing a lot for. But either way, this will have an audio commentary with Eugenio Ercolani, Nathaniel Thompson, and then Craig, you were asking about your voice doppelganger. The third of this trio is Troy Howarth. That's him. He's been on the channel before, but also he's done lots of commentaries. He's an author. He's an incredible person. This looks like a fun release. There's an interview with Enzo Castellari on here. That's brand new. A couple other interviews that are new, including an interview with the actor and stuntman Massimo Vanni. And Eugenio Ercolani is killing it with these interviews that he does for all these.
Yeah, that is interesting looking. Yeah, haven't seen that one.
Looks like a fun release. Does this have alt art? Nope. It's the same cover, and I put it there for no reason.
Got the blue Blu-ray stripe on it.
Oh, that's right. It's unique on that one. Next one, February 26th, Roger Moore is coming in gold from 1974. I've never seen this. I've heard it's surprisingly decent. Have you seen this one?
No, and I've heard the same thing. And when I was growing up, Roger Moore was just James Bond.
Yeah.
So anything else he did, it was like, hey, James Bond is in that, but he's not James Bond, so I don't really care. So I never watched it, but as I got older and heard more people talk about it, it's like, yeah, that's pretty good. So okay, I might have to check it out one of these days.
Yeah, this one says a South African gold mine foreman is unwittingly manipulated by an unscrupulous gang of financiers who wants to flood the mine to raise the price of gold on the world market. I mean, that's a compelling storyline, at least.
Yeah, that is a really good storyline right there. I like that.
Thanks, Ronnie. I would own that byline. Yeah, surprisingly decent quote from Disconnected. I'd be all about that. Next up, 88 Films releasing Evil Dead Trap from 1988, and this is coming as part of a new collection they're doing called Japanarchy, which love that title of the collection. That's really cool.
Yeah.
This is going to have an audio commentary that's brand new from Jasper Sharp and David Flint, and I am actually compelled to get this over the Unearthed Films release that I already have, because the Unearthed Films release wasn't great. Like the captions on that were really out of sync. I might check this out. Are you into some of the more extreme Japanese stuff like this?
Not really. I don't know this movie, and with Japan, I'm not super opposed to it because a lot of times it's real cartoony.
Yeah,
So I'm definitely not opposed to watching it, but I just haven't seen a ton of it.
I get that. Yeah, this is one that's worth watching. It's good. It's not anything. It probably won't change your feelings towards the genre. I'll say that.
Okay.
Something happened. We're going to talk about the sequel to this film, but something happened and it didn't post to Instagram right. So we'll talk about that near the end. Next up, this poster got flagged on Instagram earlier, which is hilarious because of everything that I see posted on here all the time. The next title in the Japanarchy collection is Tokyo Decadence, which is actually a great movie. This is coming on January 29th, and this will have an audio commentary by Jasper Sharp and Tom Mess. That's like Wonder Twin powers activate for an incredible commentary. I am probably going to double dip on this one. Very curious to see what they say about this movie.
I haven't seen this one, but the vibe I'm getting as soon as you put the cover up there was of A Snake of June. Have you seen that one?
Snake of June is very good. Gotta love it.
Yeah, really good movie.
This one, though, says a submissive hooker goes about her trade, suffering abuse at the hands of Japanese salarymen and Yakuza types. She's unhappy about her work and is apparently trying to find some sort of appeasement for the fact that her lover has married. A bit different.
Fine. Okay, so she's trying to get paid because he got married. Is that what I'm getting out of that?
Yes.
Okay. I'm curious.
Ronnie says, "Would you want to buy a Blu-ray just for the cover?" Oh man. Next up is Mosquito Squadron from 1969. This is coming on January 29th on Blu-ray from 88 Films. And I know nothing about it, but it's another war movie with a commentary by Steve Mitchell and Stephen J. Rubin. This is the third one tonight.
I don't know this one either, but yeah, that's wow.
Yeah. Next up, 88 Films is also releasing SWAT, the 2003 movie on Blu-ray in the UK. This will have all the archival features that are out there for it, and nothing new. How do you feel about SWAT? Did you ever see this one?
I have seen this one. It's cheesy fun. It's not a good movie, but it's cheesy fun.
Don't take it seriously, and you'll have a good time. This is a really fun Colin Farrell role, which you could not expect him to take in 2023. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. I actually went to theaters to see this.
I think I did too. Sibner says SWAT is fun. Let's see. Did 88 Films get purchased by a major? Not at all. They have they've been doing, like, every so often they do a big one. Like they're doing Miami Vice as well. That's I think it's Miami Vice. That's coming out this month or next month.
They're doing that on 4K or Blu-ray?
Just Blu-ray. They had talked about doing a 4K, but yeah.
I would love that movie in 4K because it is.
The colors in that movie would be astounding.
Yeah. I already have it in Blu-ray, so I'll probably pass on that. But yeah, if they did it in 4K, I'd be all over it.
Oh, interesting. Ash is saying 88 Films won't reply back to my emails to my request for replacement discs. Not if it's because they don't know if it's because they don't want to honor in the USA. Any suggestions to fix this? Honestly, just keep pestering them. That's pretty much the only thing you can do, or tweet about it publicly until they
Yeah.
try to do something about it. That's rough.
Yeah, it is.
Next up, January 29th from 88 Films. And by the way, 88 Films, I feel like we've been talking about them for an hour. We're almost done, I promise. They're releasing Loch Ness from 1996 with Ted Danson. This is a scientist tries to prove the existence of the Loch Ness monster. And they've got an interview with the director and an interview with the actor Nick Brimble, and not much else. I don't think I'd ever heard of this before the announcement today.
I'd heard of it. I remember when it came out, but I never saw it because I remember there was the trailer, and it was one of those or the Loch Ness is real. It's like it's a big mystery kind of movie. Like at least the trailer tries to kind of make it out to be, but no, I never watched it. And I love Cheers, but Ted Danson in movies is I don't need it.
I love Ted Danson in TV, but I would agree most of his film stuff is not great.
Yeah,
He's great in Creepshow, but it's only because it's an anthology.
yeah, right, exactly.
Oh man. Next one is 88 Films. Imagine that, releasing Night of the Comet on Blu-ray only on January 29th, which this is a really odd choice for me when this is already out on 4K in the US.
Yeah.
I don't know. Won't spend much time on it then. Today's announcement from Severin is The Unscarred. This is a Buddy Giovinazzo title. This says 4 exchange students meet in Berlin 20 years after graduating, but picking up where they left off doesn't turn out to be as easy as they'd hoped. This is coming as a Blu-ray on their Black Friday sale. And I don't know anything. I'm not saying this is going to be true, but I know a lot of people are worried sometimes about the Severin stuff being super limited and you can only get it from a sale. 2 of the Buddy Giovinazzo titles that they've released previously were limited to a sale only. This could be limited to the sale. I'm not saying it's going to be, but hey, it very much could be.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know anything about this movie.
I did not either. I've not seen much from Buddy Giovinazzo. I've seen Combat Shock. I don't know if I watched No Way Home yet, but yeah. David Lash says we need more 88 Films. Don't worry, there's more coming, I promise. Next up is a warning to everybody that Target is having one of their buy 2 get 1 free sales starting on Sunday, this coming Sunday, November 19th. It'll be lasting all the way through Saturday, the 25th. And just some notes that I put here is the sale is going to be on movies, books, and music. You can combine, you can mix and match. You don't have to buy all 3 in one category. You can buy 2 of one and 1 of another. 1 of all 3 doesn't matter. A lot of people say, yeah, Target has nothing near me. They don't sell hardly any books or movies or music. This also works online. That's where this shines because they sell more boutique titles there. Now, before I get into the pluses of this is not really a great time for Target. They have deleted most of their physical media titles from their website. And I'm not just saying that it has been deactivated for now. I'm saying my favorites list, where I used to hold everything and wait for a good price from Target, used to be 4 pages. I opened it this week because I assumed this was coming. It has been culled down to 1 page. And previously, if they deactivated it because they were out of stock, they would still show up there. It would just say out of stock. The fact that my pages are fully deleted, they're not even in their system anymore.
Wow, that's wild. Because I heard someone saying that they were still going to be pretty strong in online sales with physical media. But no, that's wild. And my Target, like I said before, the movie section keeps getting smaller, but the book section actually is getting bigger. Books and vinyl.
Vinyl is pretty big at my Target.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a big thing. If you don't, or if you've never checked this out before, they had some really good stuff. I mean, there was a while like they had all of the Shout Factory titles for many years, and when you wanted, you could buy a couple. You could buy 2 slipcover titles and another collector's edition, and it would come out to literally like $47, and you get 3 titles for things that would normally have cost like $85.
Maybe,
and that's a pretty dang good deal comparatively. But nowadays, most of those are gone. It sucks.
Yeah.
And then I see like 14 comments about their search. Their search engine is god awful. If you really want to find some titles to see if Target has them, my big tip for these, don't search on Target. Go to Google, type the name of the movie, and then the word Target, and it will bring it up better than if you search on Target. That's just embarrassing.
That is, I mean, a company that big, you figure somebody could run their website better.
Company that big and that old too.
Yeah.
I don't know. So if you do find some good deals, which by the way, the titles that are going to be a part of like their Black Friday sales, that will stack with this. There are going to be some titles that are $10 and less. So if you find 3 titles that are $10, you can get them for a total of $20, which is an insanely good deal considering a lot of those are 4K. So just a heads up, keep an eye out on that. You might want to go in person for some of those more mainstream studio titles. But the other thing is Target, surprisingly, they do these sales right for the consumer. If you buy a title, if you buy 6 titles and 3 of them are, we'll say $30 each and 3 of them are $20 each, you would imagine if you go to any other store in the world like Walmart, they would take the 2 cheapest ones and give you those 2 for free.
Right.
Target gives you every 3rd title for free. So you would get one of the 30 titles for free, one of the 20 titles for free. It's surprising, but they actually treat you the right way.
Yeah.
And then Amazon usually does a price match with a buy 2 get 1, but it's honestly, this is where it's hilarious. Their search is even worse than Target during this sale somehow. So yeah, that's the big draw. Is if you're going to do this, you don't need to get multiple orders to get all of them to get the, maximize your discounts. The best way to do it though is to get 3 titles at the closest possible price and do them in bundles of 3, add them to your cart, and then go back for 3 more and keep adding them to your cart until you're done. Yeah. Anything else on Target?
No, not for me. I've never bothered with those sales because I've heard a lot of stories about the hassle or having to wait up for, I guess, 2, 3, or 4 in the morning whenever the sale goes live and trying to be right on it at the. I don't need the headache. So.
Yes, I totally get that. Next up, from 88 Films. Like I said, one of these did not post to Instagram earlier when it should have, and it's the sequel to Evil Dead Trap. This is the 3rd title coming in that Japanarchy collection, February 26th, Blu-ray in the UK only. This will have an audio commentary by Jasper Sharp and David Flint, new interview with the screenwriter, new video essay by Jim Harper, author of Flowers from Hell, and he is doing the modern Japanese horror film, a stills gallery, a booklet essay, and yeah, this looks like another solid release from them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we're on our last thing. Yes, last thing to discuss tonight is a new boutique label that is coming out called Not Quite Reality. And this is going to sound like a little lackluster at first, but stick with me for a second. I've been talking to the owner. Their first title is a DVD-only release of the Who incident, and they are doing that because there was a partnership that they're doing for this first title. But the big one that they're starting is their first title. That's their real first title is The Flock from 2022. They're putting out the director's cut of that. And just some info on the label. Not Quite Reality is a found footage physical media distribution label with the goal to shine a spotlight on hidden gem indie titles and give them collector's edition treatments that they deserve. It's been a year over. It's been over a year in the making. Cannot speak. And they're already working on their second title. The worldwide debut of a brand new cut of The Flock is coming. Like I said, movie merchandise and additional titles to be announced soon. And this is a creator-focused company. Without awesome directors making these movies, we wouldn't have a product to sell. For that reason, every purchase made on the site gives funds directly to the creators, which I love to hear. And they plan on offering exclusive disc-only bonus features, collectible slipcovers with a variety of brand new or iconic art, and additional physical goodies like posters, stickers, buttons, postcards, prop replicas, and more. I've got a website listed there, and they are only on Facebook at the moment. But if you love found footage, check them out.
I'm not a big fan of found footage guy. A lot of the movies, my problem is, no matter what happens, they always have to make sure that somebody's holding the camera.
Right.
takes
Right.
me out. A lot of times, it just pulls me out of the movie.
Are there any that you've loved that you thought did that
Oh
very
yeah,
well?
there's something that I really do love, even though this movie kind of had that problem. But I really do like Cloverfield. Um, One that not a lot of people talk about is the Europa report.
Mm.
Europa report, I guess you would call it. This is one where it's a team of astronauts and they're going to one of Jupiter's moons. They're trying to fly there, and some strange things start happening. But it feels a little more organic in that there's cameras all over the spacecraft that they're in, and the ending is like a lot of found footage movies, but it's a really really good ending, and it's not outright. It's not as silly as some of the others. I mean, it feels like a serious mission that they're on, and it's got a great cast too. But yeah, the Roper Report. So.
I don't know if he's screwing with us because I've never seen it. But Dude McMahon says, check out the Amityville haunting. It's the found footage of the Amityville sequel.
It probably is. It probably is.
Oh man, I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah.
I got a question from Video Store Review. When do we announce the nominations for the Shelf Shock Awards? If this was like last year's timeline, it would be soon. But we got a lot of feedback about the votes for last year, so I'm trying to make this the slimmest timeline as possible, so everybody can get in their Black Friday titles and vote on those. So we are going to be announcing the nominees for these in December, and you're not going to be voting until the month of January. So there's a lot of time coming, so you can start preparing your list. We're going to be announcing the categories because not all of those are going to be the same. We got some feedback from last year. We changed some of these up. We're going to be making them a little more clear for everybody, and I think it'll be a much more well-rounded show this year. He says, not screwing with you, it sucks, but not as much as some of the later ones. That's good. That's good. At this point, we always talk about what's coming out next week, just in case you forgot. And next week is seeing a lot of 4K releases. We got Oppenheimer coming to physical, which I love the big quote from Christopher Nolan over the last week of buy Oppenheimer on physical media and stick it to the streamers. Love that.
Yeah.
Police Academy Collection from Shout Select, The Fugitive 4K on Steelbook and standard release, Mean Streets 4K from Criterion, Saw X 4K coming out next week. Are you a Saw guy?
Yeah. Yes and no. I've seen 6 or 7 of them, and it's just kind of never went back to it, even though I have them all except for that one. But I have the rest of them. And recently I just showed my youngest daughter, and for anybody who's curious, she's 21, so she's not like a kid.
Right.
So I'm not showing any young kids Saw, but I showed her that for the first time, the original one, and we had a good time with that. I'm curious about this, so I'm gonna have to go back and watch basically from Jigsaw on, because I haven't seen those.
You're not missing much in those last couple, but Saw X, genuinely, as somebody that loves the Saw franchise, like I've seen all of them. Well, I think I've seen 8 out of the 10 on opening night. Most of them I've loved. This one was an immediate like top 3 or 4 in the whole franchise.
Oh,
cool. This movie is incredible.
Cool. I think I kind of got burnt out because after about 3 and 4, and the movies after that just kind of seemed to be the same thing, just with more elaborate traps, but it was just a rinse repeat kind of thing.
Yep. Yeah, I get it. The Expanse, the complete series next week, Love Actually 4K, Expendables 4K, La Ceremony from Criterion, the Todd Slaughter box set from Indicator. This looks like a real winner. You can already pick this up at Orbit in stock from them. I need to get on that soon. Farscape, the complete series, out on Blu-ray from Shout Factory. Babes in Toyland coming. Godland from the Janus Contemporaries, I think it's called. The Eight Mountains, also from the Janus Contemporaries. Scarlet Letter from Film Masters. This looks like a lovely release. I need to get that one too eventually.
Is that Scarlet Letter the Demi Moore or the original?
This is a couple originals before that, 1934.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Old
One
Scarlet
of one
Letter.
of the good ones, actually.
Kino releasing Gator and White Lightning next week. The Burt Reynolds titles. And then, of course, Expendables 4, the one that all of us here are after, I'm sure. Train to Busan and Peninsula 4K double feature box set. Full Moon doing their Euroscene collection next week. The Unknown Country coming from Music Box. Not much else. Stalag 17 from Kino. Ninja versus Shark from Media Blasters. Bikini Beach next week. Navy SEALs next week. Any of these that are really high in your list of wants?
Probably. Well, Oppenheimer. I'll get that. I probably won't get it day one.
Yeah,
but I do want to get that. Saw X, the same thing. I'll get that eventually because I just have all of the movies, so I'm a completist in that way. I'm like, oh well, I got to get Saw 10, even if I never watch it, but I'm gonna watch it. It's funny though. I just at a FYE a few weeks ago, I found a Police Academy set from overseas. That's actually a box set. Looks better than that one that you showed there. So I'm
and
like,
much cheaper
what?
too, probably.
Yeah, it was 20 bucks, $25, but it was on sale. So
Yeah, I think I got that one from Orbit like a year and a half or 2 years ago, and it was like $18 or $21, something like that.
yeah.
Great price. Great price. Thank you for watching The Disconnected. On the way out, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, that you've liked the video, and that you've copied the link to be able to share with someone else that may appreciate this.